In this video, we're going to be discussing working with custom pages in model-driven apps. We'll be covering what are custom pages, those situations when you would create and use custom pages, and how to both build and introduce a custom page into a model-driven app. Custom pages lie at an intersection between model-driven apps and Canvas apps. You'll only ever find a custom page within the context of a model-driven app. However, they have the functionality of Canvas apps, and they're written in much the same way as a Canvas app would be written, using PowerFX and screens. Custom pages can be rendered in a number of ways, either in a full screen layout as shown on the bottom left, or as a pop-out as shown in the middle, or as shown on the right hand side in the bottom right image. So broadly speaking, in which situations would you create custom pages? In the first instance, it's because you want to offer one app to your users, and you want it to have the features and benefits of both model-driven apps and of Canvas apps. With regards to the custom page, you may have a specific user interface in mind. You may have a specific way in which you want it to look, and that may be intended to align to your company branding, or it may even be you want the new user interface to be more similar to the older user interface that they may have seen in a previous product, and this might help user adoption. You might also have a specific user experience that you're interested in. You may wish them to navigate around the custom page in a particular way, and this may not be suited to the forms and views approach of model-driven apps. Custom pages are fundamentally Canvas apps rendered within a model-driven app, and to this end they have the capacity to use non-Dataverse connections, and this may be extremely valuable to your business process. Finally, custom pages use Canvas apps controls, for example, buttons, image, video and audio, and whilst there are many more, they can all be configured using the low-code language PowerFX, and to this end they have the capacity to create a really rich experience for your app users. So let's consider some scenarios that would be suitable for using custom pages. You might have a human resources app. Our users may not be used to our systems, so we may give them a guided onboarding process. And this onboarding process might even include video content, which could be supplied using the video control. We could offer a customer service ticketing dashboard. We could bring together information from a number of sources. And in healthcare, we could have a patient intake form that could change shape depending on the answers that are provided. And this could be similar to an education scenario where the course enrollment may be dependent on other factors. In the context of the school library solution, we have a simplified loan check-in and check-out app. And as well as presenting us with images, it also defaults the date that the loan is taken out as well as the due date. It also updates the books that are available to us that can be loaned out in the future. The fundamental feature of all of these scenarios is that we want to deliver the tailored experience of a custom page within the context of a model-driven app, and that's because we recognize the benefits of both approaches. Let's move over to an exercise where we create a custom page and configure it and add it to a model-driven app. I'm in my developer environment within the Power Up tenant. I'm going to go through the end-to-end process of creating a Books Manager model-driven app, and inside it we're going to have a custom page called Books Review. This will be a simple list of our books with the image of the book to the left of it and the ability to navigate to our model-driven app form. We're going to create all the assets we require at pace, so let's get started. I'm going to go to My School Library Solution, select New, App, Model-Driven App, I'm going to call it Books Manager with Custom Page, and then select Create. I'm now going to bring in the books and the book copies tables. Select New, Date of First Table. Let's search for books. And I'll select both of these tables and then Add. I like the books at the top, so I can move these up. One opportunity for creating a custom page is to select New, Custom Page, and then Create Custom Page. An alternative to that is to save your model-driven app, select Back, select New, App, Page. The first thing I'm going to do is to save this app, and I'm calling it Books Review. Select Save. Because we'd like to use modern controls, I'm going to select the ellipses, then the settings, updates, and modern control themes. Close. And then I'm going to add a vertical container. Insert, search for container. It's going to be a vertical container. I'm going to drag the handle into the top left-hand corner. And this sets the X and Y properties to 0. I'm going to rename the container and call it CTR main. I'm going to select on screen 1. I'm going to rename that to Books Review Screen. I'm going to select on CTR main. I'm going to look for the width property. Search for that, select on it. I'm going to make it parent width. I'm going to look for the height property and make that parent height. And I'm going to set the gap to 10. I'm going to bring in another vertical container inside CTR main. I'm going to search for container, vertical container. I'm going to rename this container to CTR header. I'm going to move back to CTR main. I'm going to change the padding all around to be 10. I'm going to select on CTR header and notice it sits within a frame provided by CTR main. I'm going to change the flexible height to off. I'm going to change the height to 100. I'm now going to bring in the header modern control inside here. Search for this, and let's drag this in. I need to turn off the logo, move back to CTR header, and change the padding all around to 10. And update the vertical justification to center. I need to move back onto header 2. I'm going to search for the width property. And this needs to be parent.width minus 20. I now need to select onto CTR main. I'm going to go to Insert and search for Vertical Gallery. And it's going to be the layout, and I'm going to drag this onto the screen. I can search for the data source. I'm going to look for the books table. Select that. This gallery has come preloaded with some objects, but I don't want these. So I'm going to go to the layout, select the drop down. I'm going to make it blank. We need to search for the width property. Select that, and it needs to be parent.width. And it's going to be minus 20 because of the padding. I'm now going to select Insert. I'm going to look for a horizontal container. I'm going to drag this into my gallery. This needs to be dragged into the top left-hand corner. And I'll do this by holding the handles and simply dragging across. I'll take the vertical handle and drag it to the top. We need to update the width property of this container. I'm going to make it parent width, and it's going to be -10. We need to adjust the height property. I'm going to make it gallery1 dot template height. Let's move on to gallery 1. Select the drop down, look for the template size. I'm simply going to make that 60. Now going to select on container 4, insert, we're going to look for an image, select on image, select height on the right hand side to make that parent.height. And I'll make it -10. I need to go onto the image property. And that is going to be this item dot, and it's going to be book image. I'm now going to select on the container 4. Note that yours may be named differently. Select insert, and we're going to bring in some text. Make the font size 25. Make the width of this text box flexible width. The text itself needs to be this item.bookname. I'm going to go on to the height property, make it parent.height -10. I'd now like to add a button in here, insert button. I'll align this within the container. The text that the button displays needs to be review. And I'll rename it to BTN Review. I'm now going to update the onSelect property. I'm going to change this to be navigate. And it's going to be navigate this item. That's all we need. Close the parentheses. I'm going to select on the container. And I'm going to put some padding at the top of 10. And I'm going to put some padding on the right of 10. I'll also add padding of 10 at the bottom. And the objects within this container need to be aligned vertically. I can now review how this would perform on different devices. Select Preview. I can see how it would perform on a phone. I can look at see how it would work on a tablet. And finally in a browser. I'm happy with this, so I'd like to bring it into my model-driven app. We need to close out of the preview. I'm going to publish the app. Publish this version. I'm going to check my version history. And the most recent version is now live. Come out of this and select back. I'm going to leave the app. And I can see the books review page is now being created. I'm going to select on apps. Open the model-driven app we worked on earlier. Select Edit. And we're going to bring the page in. Select New. It's going to be a custom page. Search for Book Review. Select on this and then Add. It's normal at this time for the app to need to be republished because of the page that we brought in. I'm going to select OK. I'm going to publish this. Save. And then publish. If I wish, I can see how this would render on different devices on screen by selecting the responsiveness. I could select a tablet, a desktop, or a phone. And I can also preview this app. This is our model-driven app with a view of our books table. And if we go on to the books review, we have our custom page. If I select review, it takes me to the form that relates to that record. I can update this. Winnie the Pooh updated. Save and close. And the custom page has now updated. If I select review again, I can revert it back. Select books review, and it's back to normal. This exercise is now complete. If you'd like to review the custom page, this within the School Library solution, you can do so by going to Solutions and then School Library. If you select on Pages, and then the ellipses, you can review this app. Select Edit. And this custom page has the same functionality as the Canvas app, but because it's been built entirely using containers, it has the capacity to resize based on the screen in which it is placed. There is one big difference between the two apps, and this one has two screens. And the way to enable this is to select the ellipses, Settings, go to Display, and then Enable multiple screens. That needs to be turned on. I'm going to close this and invite you to take a look around this app. Back inside the School Library solution, we can go to Apps and go to the Loans Manager Model-Driven app. We can edit this and we can see the custom page in the context of our model-driven app. It's currently showing a responsive design. I can change that to be tablet or even desktop. If we wish to return to our solutions, simply select back. And back once more. In this video, we learned about custom pages and how we could insert them into model-driven apps. We created a model-driven app. We also created and configured a custom page, and we added the custom page that we created into our model-driven app. We then saw how the model-driven app and the custom page inside it were completely responsive to the form factor of the device we were using, whether it was a phone, a tablet, or a PC. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.